Happy Tuesday. We're going to focus now on the second point. I have been asking the question out of James 3 and James more generally, what would you want people to say about you? And I've said one of the things that you would want people to say if they were describing you is that you help others, that you serve. So a second thing I want to suggest that you would hope people would say about you is that you're humble. I'm keying off of James 3:13. Who is wise and understanding among you? By his good conduct, let him show his works in the meekness of wisdom. So some translators say the humility of wisdom. Some say gentleness of wisdom. Some say meekness. It's hard to get the word exactly right. I think humility is the word that perhaps we understand the best here. Now, by the way, this is always complicated. Discussions about humility are always conflicted. So if you want, if you care what people say about you, like if you want people to say that you're humble, well, you're sort of not humble, right? I mean, that's the challenge in all this. As soon as we stare at humility, it's very shy and it runs away. Now, I don't actually don't love the word meekness. I remember before we got married, Sherry and I were having a conversation and somebody was describing Jesus as meek and mild. And I said, I've never really liked the whole idea of Jesus being meek and mild. And to me, meek sounds too much like weak. And it's actually not that. It's sort of power under control. I can't remember hearing about some great boxer, early 20th century, maybe. I think it was a black boxer, which would make sense. He's on a bus, and some young thugs sort of try and demand money from him, and one of them punches him, and he doesn't respond in any way. And then as he's leaving the bus, he stops and he hands one of them his card. And it turns out he was this famed professional boxer. So obviously he could have easily completely knocked the kid sideways, but he didn't. It was actually greater strength. And I think that's what is implied by the fact that Jesus is meek. So I think, though, that the word humility is the one that I want to go with. And humility has some of those meekness overtones to it, but I think it also can go beyond that. It describes people who not only have power under control, but for whom it just doesn't have to be about them. Someone who is considerate and courteous, someone who doesn't demand their way, and I think we would agree, those are people that can be a lot of fun to be around. Now, I mentioned Lewis last week. At the risk of being C.S. Lewis all the time, let me say that I think his comment about our self-perception is helpful. The goal isn't to think less of ourselves. We're headed into a series on identity, and I'll be exploring this a little bit more, but the goal isn't to think less of ourselves. The goal is not poor self-image. The goal is to think of ourselves less, to think about God and to think about others more. That's what we're being called to. James 3:13. May people say about you and me, help others and that we're humble. Have a good day.